I love painting outside. I love a spot of urban sketching or just sitting in the garden. But what I don't love is having to take a huge amount of equipment with me. So I'm always on the lookout for new watercolours that are really convenient to take out and about. So when Meeden said, would I like to try out their Traveller's watercolours, I was intrigued. I'm a bit of a sucker for interesting presentation and packaging and something that's just a bit different from the normal. My name's Liz Chaderton. I'm a watercolour artist based in Berkshire. Every week I share a tip, trick or technique that I wish I'd known about ages ago. And I also share new art materials that I've discovered. These were sent to me free of charge, but any views here are independent and honest. So this week I am going to swatch out these Traveller's watercolours, and you're going to get two for the price of one because they sent me this set as well, which is their Pearlescent set. This is the basic, that's the Pearlescent. We'll have a look at them and how they work. I'm going to swatch all 84 colours out, take an in-depth look at whether this packaging is just a gimmick or whether it's actually quite useful, and we'll see how they actually behave on the surface of the paper. If you're interested in getting some yourself, then there is a discount code in the description of this film. I've seen this design of watercolours and I just thought they were really quite neat. So thank you to the guys at Meeden who have sent me two different ones to review. It's the basic set and the Pearlescent set. Now these are cheap and cheerful watercolours basically, because each of these are $15.95, so £15 in the UK, $18.95 in the US, $28 in Australia. So they are not expensive paints. But what I want to know is, are they good for travelling? Would they be a good set maybe to buy for kids who need a set for school because they are super compact? Are they just fun to use? So what I'm going to do is go through the set and then swatch them all out. You can see my sheet here. That's 84 colours, so I will speed that up for you and then see what I think to them at the end. So first thing to say is they come in identical boxes, which really confused the hell out of me because I thought, oh no, they've sent me two of the same kits. Oh, what a shame. And I actually got as far as embarrassing myself by emailing Meeden and saying, I've got the same kits, I'll only be able to review one. I'd only opened one and I didn't open the other because I didn't want to damage it if I had to send it back. And they went, oh, that's weird, it should be different. And of course, when I opened the second one, it was the Pearlescent kit. So should you order both of them, don't make the mistake I did. Just looking at the kit, it comes with 4 water brushes. So you've got one that actually is attached to the set and then 3 that come separately. If you haven't used a water brush before, you fill up the barrel. These ones actually unscrew the right way. Most water brushes seem to unscrew the wrong way, which is, I don't know why. Anyway, put water in the barrel, push where it says push, and the water comes out the top and you can pick the paint up with that. It just saves on the move having to take pots of water that will get spilt. The 4 that they come with is a small flat. That's a small flat, so let me put that with the other kit. A large flat, which actually is really good because large water brushes are actually quite tricky to find. So if you were out and doing a landscape, I mean, it's not huge, but it's a lot better than many, so you might quite like that. You've then got a small pointed one, and the one that's actually in the kit, and I just don't know why it's got a different valve, doesn't matter, is a medium sort of pointed one. You can see this one's got little hairs going all over the place, just where it's got bent. I'll pop that in some hot water and hopefully just be able to soften those up and reshape that. So if you ever do get a nylon brush that's gone out of shape, put it in almost boiling water just for sort of 10 seconds, reshape it, and it should go back. These are not things of beauty. They are not wonderful brushes, but they are amazingly convenient and you can do a lot with them. Then let's look at the paints. We'll start with the basic one. So what's quite nice is that it's got a little pad here. So say you'd picked up some colour. Well, we'll just swatch that out straight away. There. You can sort of give it a squeeze, wipe it off and have a clean brush to then continue with. When I go out sketching, I usually just have a piece of kitchen towel in my pocket, or frankly, I end up wiping it on my trousers usually, but I expect you're a bit cleaner than I am. So water brushes, brilliant, and that's just a nice little touch there. And then you've got a fan, and these little paints just come out like this so that you can find the one you want. And at the bottom, which again I rather like, you've got a little mixing palette. Now with 42 colours, I can't imagine you're going to have to do much mixing, but you could put that mixing palette out to the side and then use it if you need to. So it's all there. One thing I noticed when my palette arrived, and I thought, oh, there's paint missing. I think it was this one down here was loose and had fallen out in the box. So you can see that they are glued into place. I will glue that back and hopefully it won't fall out again. So just worth checking that nothing is loose before you do go out sketching. I have already tried a few of the colours because when something arrives in the post I get all excited and I just need to try it out immediately. And I did notice that when I put them back together, a couple of them had stuck. So if at all possible, if you've used it, leave it open so they can dry before you put them together. If you have to close them up wet, well, you have to do it, don't you? It wasn't like they were welded shut, but you will find, especially when they're new and quite raised, that they may stick and you may end up with paint on the sort of the back of the fans. Really would help if I read instructions before I said things. Here it says, warm tips. It might stick together if folded up right after the use of this foldable watercolour set, but it does not matter. Gently spread it out and then enjoy it painting with ease as before. Well, that's just what I said. Good, we agree with each other. Let's have a look at the colours. I won't use a water brush for this, it'll just be a lot quicker with an ordinary brush for me. So what I've done is just named the colours and then I'm going to put a swatch across. The reason I've got this thick black line is to see how opaque they are or transparent. So I'm going to do that with 42 colours. Oh, I've put that in the wrong place already. I'm not sure what the numbers actually refer to. I have no information about the pigment codes or the light fastness. I just don't know. And I looked online and couldn't see anything. I don't have high expectations because, as I say, these are very cheap watercolours. So I think it would be safe to assume they will not be particularly light fast. Oh, and I've gone wrong already. Oh, it's pathetic, isn't it? What, I should have gone there. Well, I'm afraid I'm not going to redraw this entire thing. Oh, isn't that silly of me? Right, let's get back on track. 207C should be there, but I'm going to have to put it there. Oh, it's actually a beautiful colour. I have to say that the colours are picking up very nicely. And they do not appear to be chalky on the paper. Oh, that's a nice colour as well. The paper I'm using is this Hannah Muller paper, Harmony, and always, I'm sure you know this, but the quality of your paper is more important than the quality of your paints. That's a really pretty purple too. These would be lovely if you were sketching in your garden and wanting to, you know, do lots of florals. Well, that's pretty sort of burnt sienna as well. So it's going to take some getting used to having quite so many colours. You might end up searching a lot, but I'm sure you'll get used to it. I like that one. I was saying the quality of your paper is what is really important. And you can paint a decent watercolour with poor paints on very good paper, and even with the nicest paints, if you've got a poor paper, you are going to struggle. It's just a fact. Your paper is so important. So should you decide to buy these for going out sketching or as a gift, because I think this would be a really nice gift, maybe to for a keen teenager who wants to paint, or for someone who does like urban sketching, stuff like that. You know, if you're doing it, get them some nice paper. Oh, that's vibrant. Meeden actually do some really nice watercolour paper. They do a rough, a hot pressed and a cold pressed. I've done a complete review. Oh, that didn't pick up that well. What was that? 340C. I am still on track with my numbers. That didn't pick up so well, but once you go back into it, it does. They're quite close in colour, aren't they? Yeah, so if you bought this set, oh, nice colour, I reckon it would be worth getting some good paper to go with it. Pop that down. I'm just concerned I'm going to be filming through my hand here. Oh, what a pretty colour. What a nice turquoisey ocean colour. I said I was going to speed this up and not talk all the way through it. Of course, I've exactly done the same. Those are pretty close, aren't they? Cracking through them as fast as I can. That one's not really picking up very well. A lot of these have picked up way better than I thought they would. So if you don't know what I mean by picking up, it's just you want watercolour to release really easily from the pan. Right, that was black. We are on track. So when you brush it over, you don't want to have to scrub at it. And I have to say, these are releasing better than I would have anticipated. It's a nice colour. I can imagine using that in landscapes quite well. I'm quite interested in the placement of these colours. I shall come on to that. Let's move this up so that you can see. Another black there. Well, actually, let's just look at this one a bit more. Just how it greys out. It's almost got a greeny undertone. Well, there you go. Speed swatching. Let's look at these colours and see. I was concerned that they might all be a bit chalky and opaque. So that's quite opaque. It's covering the black line a bit. Most of those are looking pretty transparent. If I come on down, oh, they're not too bad. That purple seems to be quite opaque, but they're really not bad for relatively, well, for very cheap watercolours. They don't feel chalky and they actually feel quite finely ground, which is nice. They don't feel bitty. So I'm fairly pleasantly surprised, I must say. Oh, I should take my own advice and just leave them open so they can dry off. So what struck me as I went through is that, yes, we start with the yellows and then we go on to the reds. So far, so expected. Then we've got some sort of browns and so forth. Oh, and then greens and blues. But we've got a couple of sort of random purples in there. Then we went back to a blue, and then here we've got some pinks that possibly I would have expected to be with the other pinks. So some of the colour placement is a little bit odd. And you know, this green at the end is a nice gungy green. It's fairly natural green as compared to, say, these greens. Just might have been sensible to put those together. It's a great range of colours. I think you could have a whole load of fun with that. Because they do feel quite fine, what I am going to do in a second is just wet another piece of paper and see how they move if you were doing wet in wet. Okay, let's do exactly the same with the Pearlescent set. Now, one thing I noticed as I opened them up, can you see that these are quite sticky? These are the Pearlescent colours and they are sticky. I haven't added any water to them and now they've got fingerprints in them. I don't know why. It's not particularly humid here. These are all hard. Again, doesn't matter one iota, but it's something to be aware of. Let me see if I can do this properly this time. So these are the obviously pearlescent colours, which you would expect to be pretty opaque, and I don't know how shiny they're going to come out. In the past, when I've used sort of cheap pearlescents, I've found that they are a bit gummy, and I think that's what's going on here. Not convinced how useful metallics would be, but you might like to have them in your set. What I want to look at maybe when I've done this is how much overlap, or if there is any overlap, between the basic set and the Pearlescent set, just in case you decide to purchase both. Oh, white. Well, we had white in the other set, so that is one overlap. Getting in the wrong square. I think we had that one before. Oh yes, we did. Look, if we come back to here, 3945C, 3945C. Ah, oh, and the next one, 109, 109. So there is, well, I've answered my own question. Yeah, there is some overlap. Nice orange. Right, let's have a look at their pinks and reds. Oh, that's a nice rich colour. Ah, look, that purple's there. Like that yellow, that's a real sort of cornfield sort of yellow, isn't it? Ah, was that the burnt sienna? Yeah, that we had over there. Glad to see that. I don't think any paint set should not have burnt sienna in it. It's my favourite colour. Oh, that's quite a nice one. And then, yeah, that's over there too. Okay, so we're on the home straight with the blues. Sorry, let me move this up. So let's have a look at these colours. Interesting that they call this set pearlescence. I was expecting all of the colours in here to be pearlescent, and they're not. You've basically got 7 pearlescents, and then you go back into ordinary watercolours. Spotted a few overlaps, which I sort of pointed out as I went along. I suspect, oh yeah, look, see that's an overlap there. So if you bought both sets, do not think that you would get 84 separate colours. There are probably, gosh, 70, 75 colours instead, which is still a huge amount. These colours seem to be laid out a little more in a natural sequence. So you've got the yellows through to the oranges, the reds and pinks, then some sort of earthy tones into the greens, the blues, ending up in the black, except for random blue and purple up there. So there are a few randoms. Yeah, there are a few randoms, but you'll soon get to know your way around it. Let's grab a bit of paper and just see how they move on the surface. Wet the surface. Oh, that's not bad, is it? I'm just thinking, if you wanting to do wet in wet and getting some nice soft edges, which is, you know, if you paint on dry, you get hard edges. You know, one area is white, then you go into the colour, then it stops. Wet in wet is lovely for, I don't know, if you were doing flowers, you were doing, obviously not a pink and red cat, but you know, something soft and fluffy, then having paints that have got a bit of life and movement on the surface is no bad thing. Splatter that in. You could get some very pretty effects with that. Just while we're here, I'm curious to know whether some of the sort of effects that we like salt and things like that, whether they work with these paints. I've got some ordinary table salt. The bits in there are just bits of rice to stop it absorbing water. And I'm just sprinkling in a little bit of salt to see what happens. Let me bring that up to you. And already I hope you can see that we're getting some nice textural marks. Here it is dried, and isn't that beautiful? Well, that's a really good sign that the pigments are actually finely ground. So what would be my conclusions? Well, if you're looking for a really affordable set of vibrant colours, maybe as a gift or going back to school type supplies, or you're an urban sketcher out and about, or you want to have a go at plein air painting and are not sure whether it is for you, but you want something portable to take out and about, I think one of these sets would be really rather fun. And I do love the water brushes they've supplied with them, so that's an added bonus. One thing I will say about Meeden is that their delivery service seems to be really good, and they've always got deals going on. So it's worth checking out their website or signing up for their newsletter, because they often give you a discount for that. I've got a 10% discount code, which I'll put into the description here, but do check their website because you might actually find a better code on there.